Do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a proven roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. We walk you through the exact same process that we use to run franchise marketing campaigns for our clients at scale that has resulted in triple-digit growth. This blueprint isn't for anyone. It's not for people just starting a franchise. It's not for franchises without long-term goals. This is for franchises that want to scale up their marketing in a predictable and profitable way using a proven roadmap. If you want to sell more franchises, keep your current franchisees happy, and learn from people who have already done it, go to franchisegrowthblueprint.com and sign up today. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. Today, I have Danny Park, who is the CEO and co-founder of RoboThink. Danny, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jordan. Thank you for having me on here.
No problem. It's great to have you on. So for our listeners who haven't heard of you or RoboThink, what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Danny. I am the CEO and co-founder here at RoboThink. And RoboThink is a very exciting new education franchise for kids. And we specialize in teaching kids about 21st century technologies like robotics, about coding, about engineering at an early age. And the reason I started the business is because, you can see everywhere that, so many things are changing so very quickly, especially, coming out of this pandemic in 2020. You can see that, people that are still making money are these engineers, the software programmers, people that are working in artificial intelligence and, working on the cloud. So, the way we live and the way we work is changing very, very rapidly. People say that we're in the middle of a full-fledged industrial revolution and automation. So the kids that are growing up, today's generation of kids, they're going to be growing up in a world where there are no truck drivers, there are no taxi drivers, there's no fast food workers, because, the moment it becomes cheaper for companies to automate these tasks, they're going to go forward with that direction. But also you'll see that, higher capital jobs such as, attorneys or accountants or lawyers, AI and deep learning computers are starting to creep up on them as well. There's computers that can diagnose patients better than doctors because they just have access to infinite amounts of data. So you'll see that no matter what industry or market that future workers will go into, it's going to be impacted in some shape or form by the current technology revolutions that we're having today. So, we need to prepare children for this type of future. It doesn't matter if they want to become artists or, a computer scientist. Everyone really needs to have a solid background of how computers work, how coding works, how, the modern world is working, built on these technological platforms. And the earlier that kids can understand it, the more of an impact they'll have on their lives later. So that's what we're really about, just preparing the next generation for this changing world by introducing them to these technologies early. We offer, educational programs in camps, in after-school programs, in birthday parties and workshops. And our headquarters is based out here in Chicago, but we have locations, all around the world in every major market, in China, in Malaysia, Singapore, Korea. We're opening up our first couple of locations in Australia. We've just broken into the Middle East market in Riyadh and in Saudi Arabia. And we have a presence in Europe and Africa and Central America and, many locations here in the US as well. So, it's, if anything, over the period of the pandemic, we've grown even faster just because investors, parents, and governments are realizing, really the investment in the future is raising up a domestic, intelligentsia of people that are familiar with robotics and coding. So, that's it's a little bit long, but that's what we're really about.
Very cool. I love the in-depth answer, Danny. So what made you decide to go to the franchising model?
Well, franchising, what it really attracted me was the scalability of it all. Because, for us, there's not a lot of logistics involved. We're not selling, hamburgers, so we don't need to set up a supply chain of, burgers and buns and, meats. Really, ours is a knowledge-based franchise. And I felt that the knowledge-based franchise, like something like an education system and franchising, fits so well because, we can open franchises, around the world, and we can train franchisees virtually because what's really happening is knowledge transfer. How do I operate the franchise properly? How do I train and hire the right teachers? And all of those things, if we figured it out once, we can help other people do it and, run their own successful businesses as well. And in an in-demand franchise industry like ours, it just seemed like a perfect fit to, all right, we have this great idea and we want to bring it to the world. And instead of us just opening all of the locations on our own, why not have a great family of franchisees, a network of professionals, people that are invested in the brand and that are going to be taking the brands to the next level, not only here in the US, but all around the world. So really the scalability and, how quickly you could scale was something that really attracted me to the franchising business model.
Very cool. So let's dive deeper into that. You're a global brand. As a franchise, what has it been like? What are your biggest learnings scaling things out on a global level?
First things first, when you get into master franchising in the international space, you want to make sure that you have the right in-country partner. We have a lot of franchise, inquiries and applications every day, but we have a very systematic way of learning about the franchise individual. Does this person not only have a passion for education for kids, but, what is their business experience like? Have they run other franchises before? Because because they essentially become your business partners. We don't really look at it as a master franchisee, master franchisor relationship. We look at and treat master franchisees as business partners because they're working with you every day for the next 5, 10, 15 years, or how many years that you decide to own the business for. And so you're going to have to learn to work with them every day, talk with them every day. You have to be, on a good personal level, be able to communicate and have similar thoughts on business and philosophies for you to be able to work together on a long-term period. So I think part of our success is just we've had a great system from the get-go of filtering out, bad potential franchisees, and just making sure that we're getting good in-country business partners who's going to really take the brand to the next level. They're going to take, all of the systems that we've developed and apply their local business expertise. We really look for prior franchising experience or experience in some sort of a similar related industry before we sign a master franchise agreement. And just having the good quality of master franchise candidates that are invested in the brand and that are great friends and great business partners with you going forward has been just tremendous for us. Other things is you want to make sure that some countries have franchise regulations, some countries don't. So for example, in Vietnam, there are very stringent franchise requirements for foreign brands coming in. Whereas for a country like Australia, there are no, regulations or, registration requirements like we have in the US for franchise systems. So you want to make sure that, you use possibly in-country attorneys to draft the proper franchise agreement that are in accordance with local laws. Because it gets very ugly and messy once you start breaking local laws. So make sure that you are in regulatory compliance with different countries you might be going into, and a lot of due diligence. Just make sure it comes with making sure you have the right attorneys that are drafting the right agreements for you. I think those are probably the two most important things that I've learned so far. Just making sure you have good partners as a long-term strategy. And making sure that, obviously you're in regulatory compliance with, different countries that you might be entering into.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All very good points. So you mentioned something that I want to unpack more. It's when you're bringing on a master franchisee in a new country, you have this really honed in system, but you also let the master franchisee kind of apply their own little little kind of jazz to it, right? To cater to the local market. So
Yes.
how do you give them that flexibility while still staying systematized based on your processes?
We'll get right back to the show, but do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. To find out more, visit franchisegrowthblueprint.com. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Now back to today's episode.
Absolutely, yeah. So first things first, we do we do have a degree of flexibility in how our programs are presented and marketed. Now, the important thing is that the core of the programs still stay the same. We're always about fun and education and just improving children's lives. And a lot of our curriculum content is based around those kind of three themes. So the curriculum is delivered the same way, but the format of it might change. So for example, some countries have longer summer vacations, or some countries have no summer vacations at all. And that drastically impacts whether, all right, or can we run summer vacations and summer camps in this country? It's a big business in the US, but in China, for example, or Maldives, it's not that big of a business, whereas after school programs are more prevalent there. So it's important, that you assist master franchisees, from your experience as a master franchisor, what you've come across in different countries, and say like, all right, I can see what the school schedule is like here. I'm going to have our team now work with your team to start modifying things. Is the summer camp needs to become a 3-day affair or a 5-day affair? So you can see, again, like what we're selling is the same, but how it's presented and, the structures behind it are a little bit different per country. But other things that are pretty non-negotiable with us is, for example, branding. It's one of those things that, I feel like for international franchising, it's very, very important. Taking it from a national brand to a global brand, you need to have a strong brand presence. And you want to make sure that all master franchisees and their sub-franchisees are following your brand identity manual. I think that's something that every master franchisor really should have, so that, if you go into a RoboThink location in Saudi Arabia or a RoboThink location in Singapore, you'll see that there's uniformity. The font is the same. The interior design is the same. The color themes are the same. So that, lends to the professionalism, I think, of the brand, how the brand is perceived, especially because when we enter a new country, we're a new player, but leveraging the brand, the brand capital that we have built up, is something that really helps our franchisees get off to, a better start, like 10 meters ahead of the race line versus a brand that just has a very disorganized brand identity.
Mm-hmm. Very good points. So, you mentioned brand, and this is a marketing and growth podcast for franchises. So I'm curious, here in the US and Canada, what have been some of the most successful marketing campaigns for you?
For us, it's definitely been Google AdWords. It's highly, highly targeted. From my perspective, no one just types in STEM education franchise opportunities by mistake. So I feel like the in terms of dollars invested, the highest ROI for us has been definitely Google. We are looking into Facebook and Instagram. I feel like a lot of the industry for franchise marketing on Facebook, like Instagram or other peripherals like LinkedIn, has changed a lot as well. But primarily, I think most of our leads in the US, as well as the international, just come in from Google or just SEO optimized, campaigns where we try to appear high on terms of education franchise brands.
Cool. And let's switch gears. How about on the consumer side? What has been most ludicrous for you in terms of growth and marketing?
On the consumer side, it's actually been our partnerships with local schools and local park districts and community centers and YMCAs. A lot of our franchisees are home-based or mobile. So we actually bring the programs to different schools or park districts within a particular franchisee's territory. And what's really powerful about this is that the schools and these park districts, they have their own marketing channels that are highly targeted to parents that are already purchasing after school programs or workshops. So, when we partner with a park district, for example, I'm not sure if you ever gotten like a summer camp or a program guide from your local park district in your mail, right? And it just lists, like here's some art programs, here's some, drawing programs, here's some robotics and coding programs. So by partnering with them, we're leveraging their existing marketing channel, which is fantastic for us because marketing is one of those most ambiguous parts about starting a business, right? It's one of those things that you just don't have immediate results on. But this is something that's been proven for us because these are marketing channels that are already being used and applied successfully. And it's low cost for us because park districts want to promote the programs for the benefit of the community. So that's one of those aha things that we found out along the course of the business. This mobile program is a very, very good fit for the US because there's already existing infrastructure and marketing procedures in place that we can take advantage of at very low cost with our franchisees.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the mobile model as well because then it significantly reduces overhead and infrastructure on that perspective as well.
Absolutely. And it's easy for parents as well. They don't need to pick up their kids from the school, take them to a learning center, drop them off, and then pick them up in an hour and a half again, right? So if it's at the school, the parents just pick them up an hour and a half later, which is super convenient.
Totally. So, how did you go about creating these partnerships around, each of your franchisees' communities?
So we assist our franchisees, through a variety of methods. The first one is, helping them identify schools, and we actually just plug them into a CRM system. So all the schools, park districts, community centers, but we've had fantastic partnerships with other locations like shopping malls, taekwondo centers, any business or organization that's affiliated with children are great places for us to partner with. And, and then we just have, either the franchisee or a part-time sales associate, just go down the list and start calling. Hey, we would love to offer you a free workshop or a after-school program. And another one of those successful things that we found was, when we approach it as from a perspective of, hey, can we offer a free workshop? Who doesn't love free? So, it's a great way to get the brand in the door, into the minds of, not only local parents, but key decision makers at these park districts and the community centers. They can see how the programs operate. The parents are aware of them. And that's typically how we start off. So with the CRM system, we go down the list and then we offer free workshops. And then through there is kind of where our sales cycle starts.
Very cool. Very cool. So Danny, one question I always like to ask guests is, what advice would you give someone just starting out as a franchisor?
I would say the most important thing is you have to always, if you're starting out as a particular brand with franchising as a growth, option, you have to really think in terms of systems, because you have to always think from a perspective of a person that's never done this before, right? So you want to have someone, in your mind, like there's going to be this franchise candidate that has never done robotics before. How do I build systems and policies and procedures in place so that this person who doesn't know anything about robotics or coding can get into the business and run it successfully? So, and then your decision making and your planning can arise from that. All right, well, I need the right, I need a comprehensive training system for teachers. I need to systemize my sales procedures, right? And you have to really learn to document everything at that, as you're going through it, because if you don't, you're going to forget about a lot of these little things. So when you're first starting out, when we first started out, I had myself and all of our staff members just have notebooks on them. Anytime they realize like, hey, this is something that needs to be in a manual, or, you have to train your staff to think in terms of a franchisee, a brand new franchisee. What are the key pieces of information, and what are processes that, as second nature, but it won't be for someone else? What are those things that we're going to have to put in terms, to build out a proper system? So I think that type of a mindset is something that you definitely have to have. It's not only just building the individual business, but really you're building systems and policies and procedures. So you need to have that mindset from the get-go, and any staff members that you have as well need to have that mindset. They're not just building this business, it's a franchise business. So you're building systems that has to be replicated multiple times. So I think that type of a mindset really helped us a lot, in growing, also very quickly as well, because we had a wealth of documentation by the time we were ready to just start franchising.
Nice. I like it. And one thing you kind of subtly alluded to with that notebook comment is that, your systems and processes, they're constantly changing and constantly evolving and improving over time. It's not just some static,
Absolutely.
video or documentation.
Absolutely. So that's why, I guess document procedures are also very important as well, because once you have all of these different documents, training documents, teacher training and franchise training and marketing, it can get very hectic. The layers of complexity, increase exponentially because you'll have different versions of stuff. So making sure that you're organized with these documents, and franchisees aren't overloaded with too much data as well. You really want to cut out the clutter, really identify like what are the really key, success strategies and points. You really want to spend, your time where on doing policies and procedures where it will have the most maximum positive impact for the business. So really kind of cutting through that clutter, making the documents simple, easy to use, but also again making sure that you have good document control procedures, so that if you need to update a little piece of something, then that can be done in a clean way that franchisees can understand.
I love it. So Danny, we are nearing the end of the episode, and one way I like to end them all is with something that I call the lightning round. So it's just a few fast-paced questions coming at you. Are you ready?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So first question is, what is your favorite tool or app that you cannot live without?
I would say that's our ERP system. It just great for just tracking royalties. Making sure our franchise financials are healthy. So if you're looking at building a franchise system, because now software development is so cheap, pretty much even if you're a small or a medium-sized franchise, you can actually get a custom ERP made for very, very low cost. It didn't cost as much as it used to 10 or 20 years ago. So my favorite thing is just checking our ERP software app on my phone every morning.
Nice. I like it. Next question is, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, that's a tough one. I would say Harry Potter. It's it's surprising, but it's one of those things where I really believe, like the more we expose kids to books at an early age, because inspiration comes from all walks, all different points in life. But for me, I really loved Harry Potter as a kid, and I would just spend many nights reading it, just over and over again as well. But I think that helped me give me a lot of just inspiration and creativity in terms of a business mindset. That really helped out later in life. So I guess it was just the main point is just have kids read more books. It will help them out so much in other aspects of life.
I love that response. That's fantastic. Who is a franchise leader that you look up to?
For me, I would say McDonald's. It's as cliche as it sounds. What I really loved about the brand of McDonald's was just that when you hear the name McDonald's, it just screams classic American. Heart of America. That's a very American sounding name. And I think why the rest of the world found it so interesting was just that brand image, right, of just middle, heart of America brand image, McDonald's by every church. And I think that was really one of their contributing successes. They really identified it's not the fast food hamburger, but it's just the name McDonald's that just has a very big emotional kind of attachment with it. So those are one of the big brands that we look up to. Plus also McDonald's headquarters is in Chicago. So actually during high school, we would also visit their headquarters a lot for marketing class field trips. So I had a lot of influence from McDonald's when I was young.
Nice. I love it. All right, Danny, last question, I promise. Where can people find out more about you and your franchise?
Everyone can go onto our beautifully redesigned webpage at myrobothink.com, MYROBOTHINK.com. And you'll find all of our global locations, as well as plenty of information about our programs and our franchising programs on the website.
Awesome. Danny, thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate it. You shared a ton of information that I know our audience is going to love.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
No problem. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and subscribe now so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And until then, happy marketing.